Okay, excuse me, we're going to call the meeting of the Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board to order. We're here today to hear from Mr. Edward Stock, Esquire, on behalf of R.M. Palmer, the owner of the property located at 700 Van Reed Road and 800 Van Reed Road, and identified as tax parcels that I won't read, that's requesting a variance approval under the following sections of the Wyomissing Zoning Ordinance. Section 544, area, yard, and height requirements to allow an increase in impervious coverage of 87.05% from existing 80.12%, where a maximum impervious coverage is required of 60%, and to allow a decreased open area coverage from 19.88 to 12.95, where the minimum open area required is 40%. Section 703.2, non-conforming uses of land to allow the enlargement of an existing non-conforming land use as existing manufacturing use is not permitted in I-1, Office Research Park Zoning District. The proposed building addition will be used for warehousing. Section 703.6, non-conforming uses of land to allow the erection of a building addition on a property that accommodates a non-conforming land use. 704.3, non-conforming buildings or structures to allow the enlargement of a non-conforming structure in a manner that will result in a greater degree of dimensional non-compliance. 705.2, non-conforming uses of building or structures to allow an existing structure to be enlarged or structurally altered by more than 50% of its gross floor area and or use area as existed at the time of the passage of this chapter or subsequent amendment. Section 705.3, non-conforming uses of buildings or structures to allow the enlargement of a structure in a manner that will not conform to all zoning regulations of the district in which it is located. Section 705.4, non-conforming uses of building or structures to allow the expansion of non-conforming use beyond the footprint of the existing buildings. Okay, that's the litany of what we're going to discuss today. Before we begin, I'll introduce the people at this end of the table. I'm sure you know Michelle Baer and Anderson Deutschman, who is our commercial zoning officer. In the box on the table is Robert Ullman, who's a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Najla Batish is a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Counsel is Dan Becker, and I'm David Rothamel. I'm the chairman of the Zoning Hearing Board. And now Mr. Becker is going to tell us how we're going to proceed today.
Thank you very much. So I see some familiar faces. I think this is the second time that we're here on this application or similar application for Palmer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain again how the hearing would run today. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room to see who may be interested in establishing standing for this particular matter. So the way it works is this. The applicant has the burden of proof. That means that through testimony and or exhibits with the assistance of counsel, you're going to provide us with the information that you believe is necessary for us to establish that you have a hardship or a basis upon which the zoning relief that you requested should be granted. At the conclusion of each witness, the board members and members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions of your witnesses. After all of your witnesses are completed, to the extent there's somebody out in the audience who has requested standing that would like to call their own witnesses or present testimony, they'll have the opportunity to do that as well. After all the witnesses have been provided the testimony that is appropriate for the hearing, if there's anybody here who's just interested and would like to add comments, we'll give them the opportunity to do that as an unsworn statement. This board typically will try to render an oral decision today. However, we do it 45 days after the completion of the last hearing to render that decision. Does anybody have any questions about how the process is going to work today? Mr. Stock?
No, sir.
Mr. Smith?
No, sir.
Okay. So let me just, for the record, also point out I see two counsel that I'm familiar with. Mr. Stock, you're representing the applicant today. Would you like to say your appearance?
Sure. My name is Edwin Stock, Stock Law. I represent the applicant R.M. Palmer.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
My name is James M. Smith, and I represent 1050 Spring, LLC.
Okay. And are you here in opposition to the application today?
I'm not in opposition. I'm here to listen.
Okay. So are you going to be requesting standing?
I'll request standing only to preserve the right to ask questions, but I think, yeah.
Mr. Stock, do you have any objections to Mr. Smith's statement?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. So what we just talked about a little bit with counsel was just the issue of standing. What that means is that if you are requesting standing, you're going to have the opportunity to be involved with this hearing more directly, and you'll be able to provide evidence and testimony as well. You also will get copies of the decision and have the opportunity to appeal that decision if you so desire. If you're interested in standing, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you a couple of questions. Mr. Stock and Mr. Smith will be able to ask you questions too, also to establish whether you have the requirements, which is essentially that you have to be able to establish that you have an adverse, direct, and immediate impact on this hearing. Will have an adverse, direct, immediate impact upon your rights and your use of your property. So is there anybody here that requests standing this afternoon?
Oh, I may need
Okay,
standing.
so for the record, if you would please, can you state your full name?
Linda Marie Carlson,
And will you spell that for the record, please?
Linda Marie, Carlson, Carlson.
Okay, Ms. Carlson, what's your address?
809 Van Reed Road.
And where is that in relationship to the property?
Directly across from their entrance where the trucks go through, and employee parking.
Okay, Mr. Stock, you have any objections to Ms. Carlson's standing?
No.
Mr. Smith?
No?
Okay, thank you, standing has been granted.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that requests standing this afternoon?
I would have questions and a comment, is that, the same
That's,
thing?
so tell me, if you'd like to have more, if you just want to make an unsworn statement, you'll have the opportunity to do so at the end.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Is there anybody else here that is requesting standing? All right, I know for the record, there's no one else. So what we're gonna do, Mr. Stock, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have all the witnesses sworn at the same time, or anybody who's gonna be providing testimony. So Ms. Carlson will have you sworn. Mr. Smith, you plan on entering any testimony today?
No?
Okay. To the extent you do, just remind me you have not been sworn, so that we can get you sworn if you do, okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Stock, you can remind me of that as well. All right, and now, but I want to do all the other witnesses, so Mr. Stock, why don't we just go on the record now with who your witnesses will be today?
My witnesses will be Steve Hoffman from Great Valley Consultants and Mark Schlott from R.M. Palmer, who are both seated to my right.
Okay. And we will have Michelle Baer and Anderson Deutschman providing information and testimony today as well. And I think Ms. Carlson, so if your witnesses, Steve and, you said Mark, is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Steve and Mark, if you can raise your right hand along with Michelle Anderson and Ms. Carlson. So I think I got everybody, but that's going to be witnesses, right? So if you can just swear them in.
Just give me your first name is Stephen,
Stephen,
P.H.
V.
Your last name again?
Hoffman, Hoffman.
And your name?
Mark
Mark.
Schlott.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. All right, so at this time, I think we have gone through all of the preliminary information, so back to you.
We have, so get turned over to me so that I can turn it over to Mr. Stock.
Thank you. I call Steve Hoffman.
Can we put the plan on?
I don't have it. Unless you're talking about the one from the last application, there was no plans submitted with this application. All I got
It was
was the
attached.
application was a letter.
Submitted zoning plans.
Which don't go to me. Would that have been part of the permit?
It might have been zoning. These are dated
March?
May 20th.
May 20th is when the date of the plans was May 7th.
That's what I have here.
So I never received an electronic copy of that.
Do we have a hard copy of it?
Yeah.
All right, let's just do it the old-fashioned way.
All right.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I didn't realize you didn't.
Let me ask this question, Steve.
I mean, I can have it sent over.
How quickly can you have it sent over?
Yeah, I can do
How
that.
quickly?
Probably 5 minutes.
Mr. Stock, can we start with another testimony while he's having that sent over?
Sure, I'll do Mr. Schlott first.
Okay, so,
Yeah. Is that dated May 7th?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, if we could email that to Michelle right now.
okay, all right, so while he's doing that, it's gonna, Michelle, if maybe you can take a look at that, see if you can get that over. In the meantime, Mr. Stock, why don't you proceed with Mr. Schwab?
Okay. State your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Mark Shalat.
What is your position or connection to RM Palmer?
I am the Chief Executive Officer.
Sorry, Chief
Yeah,
Executive.
you have to remember you're talking to us
Yes,
as well, so maybe you just move back from the table a little bit.
Maybe I'll switch.
Yeah,
over.
that'd be,
Yeah,
that'd be a
That way
good
he's-
idea.
that way he's looking.
So how about our stenographer? You good back there?
Yeah, I'll just move more over.
You wanna come over here?
No, I won't, I'm trying here today.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Yes, oh, absolutely. Just we have to write it too, if she's ready again.
Right.
Is it Mark with a K or a C?
K.
And his last name?
Shalat. SCHLOTT.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, and your position again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, CEO, Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you.
And how long have you been the CEO?
I've been the CEO for 2 years.
With regard to the properties in Wyomissing Borough, can you tell members of the zoning hearing board what those properties are used for?
Yes.
And how you identify them?
So the properties here in the borough, the main plant at 800 Van Reed Road, we consider building 3. That's our main manufacturing facility that we've had for many decades. The property at 700 Van Reed Road, we purchased, I believe, back in 2015, and we use that primarily for storage. There's some office space, and there's a training center in the front of the building, a conference room that we use with the employees and the training.
And when did you start with Palmer?
I started in 1986.
And building 3 was built before you started?
Yes, that is correct.
Have you researched when building 3 was constructed?
I have, from our company records, we believe it was constructed in 1967.
You have a newspaper article that
I found this, I shared the groundbreaking ceremony with Mr. Palmer Senior, who was on our board of directors until 2009. That's,
We're gonna mark this as applicant. I don't know if you had anything to mark, did not?
I did.
Okay, so we'll mark this as applicant 1.
yes.
We'll pass it around and then we'll pass it up to the stenographer's assistant.
So I knew 3 out of the 4.
Okay, just hold on a second.
individuals.
If you just pass it down to the stenographer's assistant.
now,
1 second, I'm sorry. Okay, please proceed.
Mr. Schlott, RM Palmer is actually a tenant at these properties, is that correct?
That is correct.
And the record owner, I'll have these deeds marked and shown to you in a second, is Confectionery Real Estate LLC.
That's correct.
Can you explain to the board sort of the connection between the record owner and RM Palmer?
Yeah, so it's all, the ownership is by the same individuals, but the real estate was broken out from the operating business, as is such with most businesses and manufacturing companies. It's always been that way. Traditionally, before, the main facility was owned by the company in Wyomissing, but other facilities within Palmer were owned by different entities or individuals. And those individuals within those entities have changed over the course of many years as people have retired or been bought out or have been bought into the real estate.
I'm going to just show you what I marked as applicant 2 and applicant 3. If you could just confirm that those are the existing deeds of record for the properties.
While he's looking at it, Mr. Stock, is wanted the A1 or A2 for 800 or 7?
Yeah, they're both correct. So for the record, applicant 2 is 700 Van Reed Road, and applicant 2 is 800 Van Reed Road, applicant 3 is 700 Van Reed Road. Applicant 2 actually there's 2 tracks identified in the parcel. The total property is 3 separate tracks.
Okay, so just so I'm understanding correctly, so with applicant 2, 800 Van Reed Road, there's 2 per parts on one deed, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's just pass these back down to the stenographer and let her mark those.
So for the 800 Van Reed Road property, there's manufacturing that takes place within that building.
That is correct.
And could you just sort of concisely describe the type of manufacturing that?
Yeah, so I believe it's considered light manufacturing, where we have a bunch of equipment in there that molds chocolate into many different sizes and shapes and flavors.
And you said building 4 is a training and storage facility. Based on your research, when building 3 was constructed in or around 1967, was it conforming to the then existing zoning ordinance that allow manufacturing to take place?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yes.
Would that also be true for building 4?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Can you describe for the zoning hearing board, and we'll get more details from Mr. Hoffman in a minute or two, what the company is proposing in terms of the addition?
Yeah, so what we would like to do is incorporate both buildings into one unit for efficiencies of storage.
Could you speak up, please?
I'm sorry.
It's all right, just speak, you don't have to look at us, just speak up.
Speak up?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is expand or connect each building primarily for efficiency in storage. Right now, with the buildings disconnected, we're storing product in both buildings. It would be advantageous and would help the operations immensely if we could have access, instead of having trucks take product from one building to the next building. If we could do it inside the building, it would eliminate truck traffic with our own internal trucks, not external trucks, internal trucks. We also would like to put other storage, racking and such in place so that we can store packaging, ingredients, and such for the operations at 800 Van Reed Road.
Is the need for this additional building at all related to the circumstances of what occurred in West Reading?
It is, from the sense that we lost space in our other facility to store things. The operations right now really is cramped, and for us to continue to operate at the capacity we're at, we would need to find additional storage.
Can you explain to the members of the zoning hearing board, the circumstances of how Palmer's business goes and the need for storage, and I think you call it a surge?
Yeah, so we're primarily known to be a seasonal candy manufacturer, chocolate novelty manufacturer. So what that does for us is, right now we're making Christmas candy. The Halloween candy is shipping or has been shipping. If you go out in the stores right now, you'll see all the Halloween products out in the stores as we sit here. So right now we're building up Christmas inventory, and we'll start shipping Christmas candy in about 4 weeks to get to the stores so that they can get it through their distribution process in time for When they set it, usually right after the Halloween sale, so they want it in their stores in October. So we're always working 3 to 4 months ahead, which requires a lot of surge capacity because we're shipping all the product at one time out of our Exeter distribution center.
And how would the proposed new building help or assist in terms of how your business cycle operates or functions?
Yeah, right now, without having enough space in that building, we're running a lot of quarter trucks, half trucks, 3/4 trucks from our Exeter facility. I think most of you know we have a 350,000 square foot distribution center in Exeter, PA, and that's where we're storing a lot of our supplies and ingredients. And right now, the truck traffic going back and forth from Exeter to Wyomissing, the trucks are half full, if not less, because we just don't have the storage space. If we could fill the trucks and store them in Wyomissing, we could cut down the truck traffic probably by 50%.
That was gonna be my next question. How would maybe you just answered this, the proposed expansion, how would that affect the existing truck traffic at the Wyomissing site?
Yeah, it would reduce it pretty drastically. It would not adjust the chocolate trucks or the sugar trucks, but our internal Palmer trucks, the ones that you see on the highways and in the local community, there would be fewer runs back and forth to our facilities because we would have that surge capacity. Instead of putting 5 pallets or 6 pallets on the truck, we could put 24 pallets on the truck, if not more, to get them back and forth from Exeter to Wyomissing.
How would, if at all, the proposed new building affect the employee census at the Wyomissing site?
It will not affect it at all. As a matter of fact, back in December, we acquired a lease for a new corporate office and moved about 35 to 40 people from 700 Vandy Road, to 1030 Reed Avenue, which again is within the borough. Myself and our team are very committed to our borough and to our local community here, and we signed a long-term lease at a property that was vacant for a couple years, and remodeled it. And our new corporate center, I like to call it World Headquarters, is now down at Reed Avenue.
How many employees approximately are at 800 and 700 Van Reed Road?
I'm going to get you the exact number that I got yesterday. So right now we're at 497 employees.
And will this expansion change that number significantly either way?
No.
How many, have you researched, like in the past, what's been the maximum number of employees that have worked at the 800 and 700 Van Reed Road facility?
So this comes from our audited financial results that have been done through the years. In 1997, we had 983 full-time employees. In 2000, we had 902 full-time employees. In 2005, we had 675 full-time employees. In 2010, we had 550 full-time employees. And currently, right now, we're at 497 full-time employees.
You would not anticipate that changing even with if the expansion were approved?
No, not at all.
In terms of parking for the employees, where is the parking located?
Excuse me, Councilor, before you move on to the party, those numbers that you just gave us included all of the people that worked in West Reading, did they not?
That is correct. The mix is approximately 70-30, 70% at Wyomissing, 30% at West Reading. But as you can see, if you do the math, it would, through the years, we have less employees at the facility due to automation and just some of our product lines than we have 10, 20 years ago.
So, without testing my calculator mind, you had at one time more people
Yeah, many more.
in Wyomissing.
Yes,
just
that
like
is
just like that.
yeah, many more.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Mr. Schlott, I was asking about employee parking. There's existing employee parking?
Yes, there's employee parking in the rear of the facility and in the front of the facility.
As with the current building configuration and the current census of employees, is parking an issue?
No, we have enough parking for our employees. Shift change can get a little full depending on, we get a little busier in December and January because of the Easter push. You know, all the Easter bunnies, we gotta get out there to the world, but, you know, again, 90-some% of the time, parking is never an issue. And a lot of our employees use barter bus, which is located, the bus stop is located right there at 700 Manby Road on the corner, which is a great thing for the employees.
And I will get the details from Mr. Hoffman, but my understanding is that if this is proposed expansion is approved, there's actually gonna be some additional parking spaces created.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't get all that.
It's my understanding that there will be some additional parking spaces created.
That is correct.
Do you know the number, or we'll get that from Mr.
I'd
Hoffman?
like to make sure we're accurate.
Okay,
It's 20. We'll give the number.
get that from him. That's all the questions I have for this witness.
I don't, Bob?
Robert, do you have anything? I think you're muted, Bob. You're talking to us, Bob.
I haven't gone anywhere.
Okay.
I may have some questions, I have questions.
Okay, so let me ask a couple of questions for clarification. So I think when we initially talked about it, I know that Mr. Stock asked you a question about 800, and I think you referred to that as building 3. He also talked about 700 Van Reed, but we didn't talk about that. Is that when you later referenced as building 4?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. It was the old Mondelez distribution center, Nabisco distribution center.
You also mentioned that you moved a certain number of employees, which I think were sort of the management team or administrative staff.
Yes.
How many left 700 Van Reed?
Around 35 to 40. I don't have an exact number
Okay.
because we were moving some people around, so that was the range.
And they went to the 1030 Reed Avenue property.
That is correct.
The new corporate headquarters.
That is our new corporate headquarters.
You made, Mr. Stock asked you a question very strategically. He said, will it change, your number of employees change significantly? Will it change at all?
As I sit here today, we're not going to hire one person or lay off one person if we build this facility.
All right, you may not be able to answer these questions, maybe Mr. Hoffman. Do you know the number of employee spaces that are currently available?
I would defer it to the experts, so I don't get it wrong.
That's fine. All right, I don't think that's my questions.
Who owns Arm Palm?
So, right now, I'm an owner, but a minority owner.
You're a what?
Minority owner, yeah. For many years, we had a group of individuals, the Palmer family had majority ownership. But I've been an owner for 25 years.
Then let me phrase it and say, who controls Arm
Yeah,
Palm?
okay, that's where I was going, good question. Right now, we brought in investors, Union Capital out of Connecticut. It's a team that we've worked with for 3 years before we made them partners in our business. It's an outstanding group, and we've been doing great work together. They have, the majority, 90% of the ownership.
Nobody on site, they're just investors.
There's numerous people there today. We interact together. There's other companies, food companies in their portfolio.
Okay.
We call them sister companies that we work with and that we're trying to expand, through our partnership. We did acquire a company back in October that we put on hold because of our incident, but it's a company called CDS in Buffalo, New York, to give us other competitive advantages in the marketplace. So yeah, we're still looking at acquisitions. We're still trying to compete with the majors and grow our business.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stock. We want to have your slot available for potentially further questions down the road.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. It's good.
Okay, next witness.
Okay, Steve Hoffman.
Oh, hold on one second, I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we have any of the others here who have standing, or anybody else who would like to ask any questions of this witness. Mr. Smith?
No questions, thank you.
Ma'am?
No, no questions right now, thank you.
Is there anybody else here who has any questions of this witness? All right, seeing none, next witness.
Okay, call Steve Hoffman. Give us your name, please.
Stephen Hoffman?
And are you connected in some way with Great Valley Consultants?
Yes, sir.
And what is your connection?
I'm a professional engineer. I've worked there for 22 years. I'm a project manager on this project.
And how you said you're a professional engineer, how long have you been at PE?
Since 2007, so 15 years.
And
What now?
are you the, have you?
17 years, sorry.
We have the plan now up on the screen. Did you prepare this plan?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you give us a sort of a 10,000 foot overview of the proposed expansion, and then I'll have some more specific
And
questions.
before we do that, Mr. Stockman, can we mark this plan as applicant's exhibit? We'll mark the hard copy. I assume these are the same, and maybe you can explore that with the copies.
Yeah, why don't we?
One and four.
Is there a laser pointer in this?
Yes. Let's just hope it's charged.
If it's not, I can do my best to explain.
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Should be in there somewhere.
Oh, it's before. There it is.
So Robin, this is A4, is that correct?
Yes. Okay.
Steve, could you take a look at A4 that the stenographer is going to hand to you and verify that the hard copy is what is being displayed on the screen?
So it's 7.
Yes, it appears to be the same.
Okay.
Okay, so as was described before, the existing building up here, that's 800 Van Reed.
So, you know what we're gonna do here,
Okay.
Mr. Hoffman, is
Sure.
it's gonna be a little hard to say the building up here.
I was going to.
Oh, you're gonna take care of that?
Yeah.
Then I will let you take care of that. Thank you.
All right, so put the pointer on what you just had. So that's,
This is an existing building.
okay, this doesn't translate to a
Sorry.
transcript, so let me help you. So what you are showing is what is referenced as building number 3.
Correct.
Okay, and that address is 800 Van Reed.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Stock, does that say building number 3 on there? It's hard to read from the area.
It does not, Dan. It just has the address, and it's an existing concrete block industrial building.
Okay, so let's do this. We have the hard copy. That's what I'm gonna be working from. So please mark on that. You can leave it with Steve. Steve, please mark on there then, the building number 3.
Yeah. if you don't mind.
Okay, so you've marked the hard copy of exhibit applicant 4, you've notated building number 3 on there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what is, I think you were getting into this, just generally describe what building 3 consists of.
It's a concrete block industrial building. It's the larger of the 2 existing buildings on the R.M. Palmer property. I think Mark had already described what activity takes place in that building. The second existing building is located at 700 Van Reed Road, which we can mark as building 4
Right.
on the exhibit.
Would you notate,
Mark.
notate applicant exhibit 4 with building number 4?
Steve, while he's doing that, if you can just point to it with your pointer so I can see.
Yeah,
Sorry.
take out your eye.
So just do the perimeter of building number 4. perimeter of building number 3?
Well, we don't have the entire perimeter on here, but this is a portion of it.
So at the top of the screen, there's more building number 3 that's not depicted.
Correct. So the plan is to connect building 3 to building 4. They are currently located approximately 131 feet from each other. And as Mark has described, the desire is to connect two buildings to improve storage logistics and generally just improve the operation.
Why don't you stop and just use the pointer and show the perimeter of the proposed new building?
Sure.
So you're showing an area that is situated between the two existing buildings.
Correct.
And Steve, just mark on there, if you would, please. What was your slide? New building. Oh, it says proposed warehouse. That's fine.
Okay.
It says proposed warehouse.
And while we're on this, the proposed warehouse building, the total square footprint is 19,741 square feet.
That's correct.
Now, I wasn't here at the first hearing, but this is different than what was proposed before, correct?
Correct.
And how so?
The building currently shown has a smaller footprint than what was shown with the original application. That was the one that was originally submitted last year. I don't know the exact date, but so the difference is that the building footprint has been modified to eliminate an encroachment into the side yard. It now conforms with the side yard setback, whereas the original application did not.
Okay, and I can actually read this. It says 50 feet.
That's the required setback. So the original application had a larger building footprint that was only 10 feet away from the property line. This is fully within that setback of 50 feet.
Okay. So we moved the perimeter of the building further back from the property line to make 50 feet to meet the existing zoning ordinance, resulting in a smaller building.
Sure, and I just want to note, we decreased the footprint of the building. The side of the building facing Van Reed Road has stayed the same.
Right.
Stop and ask a question, please. Mark, I'm sorry, you don't have your last name, so Mark,
It's okay.
right? Okay. You showed us the picture of Mr. Palmer and Malik and the whole gang. So the two older buildings were both built by R.M. Palmer.
Yes, so I believe that the main facility in the front, and you won't be able to see it here, but up there was the
Yes.
original building. Then they added 2 warehouses, I believe, through the years. And this is before I started, so in the early 80s.
Okay, so you can't tell me why these buildings were built separately to begin with.
No, I think it was just an economic thing. The company was much smaller then, so I think as the company was growing, I'm sorry.
He's asking about the municipal building as well.
Yeah, I think building 4, Mark,
Oh.
that was acquired.
Building 4, okay, building 4, I see what you said. I thought you meant the original structure. Building 4 was acquired in 2015. That was a Nabisco distribution center that was there for a lot of years.
Okay.
When that went up for sale, we acquired it because, again, we wanted to add to the parking situation and just use it for storage.
That answers my question.
Going back to the plan, Mr. Hoffman, you heard me ask Mr. Schlott about additional parking being created. Can you identify where, under this plan, there would be additional parking created? How many spaces would be created by that?
Yes, so this would be the northwest side. The north is the top right corner of the screen. So along the northwest side of the proposed warehouse, we would have an 18 space parking lot and then an additional 4 space parking lot just north of that, along the existing pavement where the loading docks are for building 3. So it would be a total of 22 new spaces, and we wouldn't be eliminating any existing spaces.
And I think there was a question asked of Mr. Schlott. Do you know how many total parking spaces there are on site?
Currently, there are 229.
Does that include the proposed?
No.
So 229 plus a proposed.
There will be 251 after the 22 additional spaces are added.
Does the project also include some additional stormwater management facilities?
Yes. So, just to the northeast of the 18 space parking lot that I just described, there's a hatched area on the plan here. That would be an underground detention facility. That would be sized to meet all the requirements of the borough in terms of stormwater.
And would there be any utility relocations required if this project were approved?
Very minor. There's an existing storm drain, a roof leader that will have to be relocated. Very minor electric line, I think, connecting a couple of overhead lights. But that's about the extent of it.
Let me ask you some specific questions that were mentioned in the zoning review letter. Proposed height of the height of the proposed new building?
While we don't have a final design of the building yet, it's my understanding, talking to the both Palmer and the architect, that it will be less than the maximum permitted 45 feet.
How far is the proposed expansion from the nearest residential zoning district?
Several hundred feet. I think the zoning district boundary is along Van Reed Road. I think it coincides with the right-of-way line. So it's probably 200 to 300 feet.
Have you placed a note on the zoning plans regarding preparation of a landscaping plan?
Yes, a landscaping plan will be required. It hasn't been prepared yet, and it will need to be signed and sealed by a professional landscape architect, I believe.
Does this proposed expansion add any existing outdoor storage areas or dumpster areas?
No.
So whatever exists there now will continue to be used?
That's correct.
Did you place a note on the plan as a result of the zoning review that there would be a compliant lighting plan submitted as part of land development?
Yes.
Does the proposed expansion involve or include any additional loading or unloading spaces?
No, it does not. The only thing I'll add to that is we did add a ramp along the northwest side of the existing building, the northwest side of building 4. That's simply for access for the forklifts and pallet trucks.
Did you include a note on the plan about the parking spaces that exist being illuminated during nighttime hours?
Which I believe
Note number 9 on your letter of May 20th.
let me see what it is. I don't say that specifically on the plan, but I believe it's covered by note number 3.
Okay. Did you address the?
So I'm sorry, what's covered by this? Let's go back to that.
Well, there was a note on the zoning review about parking spaces being illuminated at night and,
There's an exterior lighting note on the plan.
So what's the answer to the question?
Yeah, there's a note on the plan, but
What's happening with light?
Yeah, well, general note number 3 on the plan, it is intended to state that we will fully comply with all exterior lighting requirements relative to the building lighting, parking lot lighting, anything that's required, we will comply with.
have you made a observation regarding whether there would be any noise emitted from the proposed building that would result in any significant noise level increase beyond the boundaries of the property?
It's my understanding that the activities there will not generate any disturbance beyond what the standards are articulated in the zoning ordinance. And a note to that effect is on the plans.
So, let me talk about the specific requests that are being made. So section 544, we're asking for a variance to increase the site impervious coverage from 80.12% to 87.05%. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the maximum allowed is 60%?
That's correct.
So what we're asking for is essentially a expansion of an existing nonconformity.
Correct.
And what observation do you make as a professional engineer regarding that request?
Well, for us to build the building and the parking spaces, there's really no way to avoid the increase. And to the extent that we are increasing the impervious area, I feel as though we're adequately addressing, stormwater, as we will be, we'll need to comply with the stormwater management ordinance. And we'll be doing any landscaping that's required, and we intend to fully comply with all that.
Anything else you want to add on that point?
No.
We're also asking for a variance from section 544 to decrease the site open area coverage. Am I correct?
Correct.
And what is the reduction being requested?
From 19.88% open space to 12.95 open space.
And what is the maximum allowed by the zoning ordinance?
The zoning ordinance requires that there's a minimum 40% open space.
And what, as a professional engineer, what observations do you make or comments do you make in regard to this request?
The same as I just made for us having to increase the impervious in the previous question.
With either of these requests, do you see any detrimental impact to the site in question or into the neighborhood?
I don't. I feel that the requirements of today's standards, zoning ordinance, subdivision, and particularly stormwater management, I think will ensure that the additional impervious is adequately addressed.
So we're asking for a variance from section 703.2, 703.6, 704.3, 705.2, 705.3, and 705.6. Let's take all those together if we can.
Can I say one thing about 704.3?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just tell the zoning hearing board what if it's not already obvious, what we're requesting.
Well, we're requesting the expansion of a building that accommodates what is now a non-conforming use. So by doing so, there are a number of zoning sections that prohibit what we're asking for. However, it's our position that the use that's there was permitted at one point, evidently, and, that's the hardship in our opinion. So really, the relief that you, just kind of listed there, that there's several variances are all pretty much related to us expanding the building that's used for a currently non-conforming use.
And you wanted to make a comment about, I believe 704.3?
Yes, my interpretation of that particular section, and I don't know if anybody can pull it up from do we need to enter that, Dan, into the record?
The zoning ordinance?
The actual section from.
The zoning ordinance will be exhibit when we get to our.
Okay, I feel that section where it refers to the expansion of a building that will result in further dimensional requirement nonconformance. I believe that section is only referring to further nonconformities relative to side yard setbacks and building height. And this current application, we are meeting the yard setback requirements, provided that we follow through with the annexation, and we will be under the 45-foot maximum height. So I felt like that, in my opinion, that particular relief wasn't needed relative to that section.
And you mentioned, I was going to get to this in a minute or two, but you mentioned annexation. Is it your understanding that the intent is to put all the properties on one deed?
Yes, absolutely, yes. We will eliminate the property lines between the existing parcels, and they will be consolidated into a single deed.
And there's a provision in the zoning ordinance that if it's the same company, it's an expansion of the non-conforming use by 50% or less, that's allowed as a matter of right. Are you aware of that provision?
Yes.
Do you believe that applies here?
Yes, I do.
And why is that?
Well, I think that the reason that it was brought up in the zoning review letter that was that the property had changed ownership, but it sounded like to me that essentially it's always been R.M. Palmer operating the site, so it seemed kind of like a technicality to me that I feel as though that's my opinion of the intent of the section.
What section was that?
Yeah.
Was that, what, was 704.3? I thought that was relating to the other issues.
No, it's, hold on, Dan.
Hold on, Dan.
Seven oh five point two.
703.2, I think.
705.2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's in the 705.
So it's in the notice, which
Yeah.
says non-conforming use of structure.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The structure is enlarged, be altered by more than 50% of its gross floor area and or use area as existed at the time of passage of the chapter. So your position, Steve, you think that allows you to do what you're asking to do?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my position, too. Anything else we haven't covered, Steve?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for Mr. Hoffman at this point.
Mr. Hoffman, you alluded about 5-10 minutes ago to the hardship that has been imposed. I'm not sure I understand what you were saying. Would you tell me more about that?
Yes, my position was that, when the original building was built, it was built for the production of chocolate products back in 1967, and then It's my understanding, based on discussion with both the applicant and also some of my own research on aerial photography and researching old plans, recorded plans, that there was a relatively large expansion back in somewhere between 1981 and 1985. And
That was the building 3.
yes. And the fact that there seems to be no record of any variances that were obtained for that expansion at that time, it's my assumption that at that time, I realized it was over 40 years ago, but it must have been a permitted use at that time. And evidently, at some point after that, the zoning regulations were changed to eliminate this particular use from what was permitted in that particular district. So once that change occurred, whenever that exact date was, I don't know. That's what rendered the use that's been there since 1967 a non-conforming use. And were it not for that, a lot of this relief wouldn't be necessary.
So your position is that because we've improved our zoning regulations, it's created a hardship?
Because they've changed, sir.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you know, was there a zoning ordinance in effect at that time, when the expansion occurred?
I do not know that for sure.
Yeah, so we don't even know whether there was any zoning at that time.
That's correct.
And you don't know whether there was any in 1967 or whenever the building was originally constructed.
I don't know that for certain.
Mark, we listened to zoning ordinances and everything, so I want to give you a chance, from an operations standpoint. Sure. If you can just take a few minutes, the cliff notes, but I would like to know what's going on in these buildings now and what you're changing, so that I can see, so I can understand what, from an operational standpoint, what you're doing.
So, again,
Mr. Schwein, if you could just remember, we kind of mark those as different buildings.
Okay.
Your testimony, so I can
Make sure you
understand.
follow along.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Again, this is Van Reed Road here. We marked this building 4, which was the Nabisco building back when we purchased it around 2015. This property here. Up there is the end of our existing facility.
That's building number 3.
That's building number 3. This is the proposed new, just
That's
attachment.
all lawn right now.
Right now, that's just lawn, that's just grass. And then this is the proposed parking lot to add additional parking to help with any overflow of existing employees. What we currently do is right here from this point out is just storage in this building currently.
That's
So
insane.
you're describing
Building 4.
roughly 2/3 of building 4 is storage. Yeah, I mean, it's from about here out is just storage. There's this in the front here, our label department that makes all the labels for the cartons and candy. That department's in there, it's one person.
Storage of candy or storage of
Raw
stuff?
materials, like packaging, films, foils, and that sort of thing. Our conference center, our training center for the employees is here. So any training that we do with the employees, whether it's GMP, safety, whatnot, all that training has always been done in this part of the building. In that part of the building, again, right here is warehousing because there's currently docks.
Okay, so again, you're saying right here, this,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
so right here,
Right here, the existing building, building 3.
so building 3
There's docks.
on the south,
Yes.
east, or is that south side?
South.
Okay, we'll call it the south
Give or
side.
take.
Yeah, so south side, there's currently docks there?
Yes. This is where we do a lot of storing and moving of material.
When you say material, you're talking about candy.
Yes, so again, packaging. So we don't store any finished product candy in the Wyomissing facilities. All the finished product goes to Exeter.
How quickly after it's manufactured?
An hour.
Okay.
Because again, if you see the Palmer trucks are just constantly rolling, it's an internal trucking force around the plant. So again, storage in some of this area. There's equipment in this area now. There's some equipment out here. And what we're looking to do is to cut through here, and instead of having to load trucks and move stuff around and back and forth down at Exeter, just have the ability to go in
inside in between buildings, and then have all this additional storage for the surge capacity, so we're not shipping quarter trucks, half trucks, three-quarter trucks from Exeter. We can actually fill the trucks up, bring them up here, and literally cut down on the truck traffic.
Where are the production lines?
I'm
That's-
sorry, I didn't hear that.
Where are the production lines?
All the way that way.
Okay.
There's some in here now, but most of the heart of the building, and the original line 3, they called it, is all the way to the other side.
So the bulk of your employees are in the north end of the building?
Well, the bulk of there's kind of around the building,
Okay.
yeah, but the employee parking lot, it would be up that way, in the back, on Spring Street. That would be the employee parking.
So this addition,
Yes,
is not for chocolate.
It's not
This is-
for making
This is for
chocolate.
the stuff that you're making the chocolate with.
yes, so it'd be corrugated boxes, foil, that we can store here, ingredients, cocoa powder, whey powders, and,
And it also gives you a covered area to move.
product. So we don't have to load it up on the docks,
Okay.
put it in our trucks, run it around the other side of the
But where are
building.
you gonna put the trucks now?
Well, there's,
In the new thing, where are the trucks?
well, there's dock doors in the back,
Okay.
When you say back,
again, back of building 3, it's not there, it's back
so
of
it's
building
up at
3.
the top, north,
On Spring
northeast.
Street, yes.
Northeast,
Yes.
I'm kind of missing some of that there, sorry. So, I'm sorry, Dan.
That's
I
okay.
get what you
It's okay.
asked.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry?
She asked what I was asking. My question was, he said it's in the back of the building. I asked where the back of the building was.
Spring Street.
He explained Spring Street, which is to the north and not shown on this plan.
So, all of this is storage of stuff. Candy's made up there.
So Ken, one at a time, let Mr. Lawson will go. So
Candy is made in here in the south end of building 3 and up in the north part of building 3. And it leaves the north side of building 3.
Yes, it goes out Spring Street.
So all of this, whatever is brought in here, docks and everything is materials, whatever. But this stuff doesn't make chocolate. Where does the chocolate come from?
So we bring in the dry ingredients, the sugar, and we manufacture, we make the chocolate in the
Okay.
facility.
Where do you bring the stuff in?
There's the dock area here, and
Okay.
there's a dock area
So-
in the back.
All right.
All right, so let me ask this question, because I'm getting confused here too. Do you have a plan that shows the entire building?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have that?
Bob, can you send the, there should have been, there were two sheets with the zoning plans.
The same date?
The same date, yes. The second sheet showed the entire property.
Perfect.
Thank you. So, let's mark this as,
This should be the second sheet of applicant.
so Steve,
Here's a copy of it.
so we do have that, it's the second sheet.
Yeah, it's the second sheet of applicant.
I don't need it.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work.
All right, so we have.
Were there two sheets?
So is this, let me just pause here for a second.
I think.
Mr. Schlot, is this, and the one that you're showing is the second sheet of form, are these the same layout? No, they're different, okay.
He's gonna scan what Mr. Schlott has in his keys now. So we can put it up on the screen.
All right, let's take just a brief recess, and she scans that doc. That's one, no testimony.
Just hold that, put it back on the record.
Back to get shot.
Yeah.
I know you.
You will.
No, that's it. That's good. That's good. That's also.
They have it.
Steve has it, I believe. Laser pointer.
Oh,
Is this the green one?
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get this one marked. Yeah, so why don't we mark it as 5, just to make it a lot easier.
Where is
So
it?
we're going,
Oh, is it down there? I'm
it's
sorry.
down here, down here. So what this is the second page of the plan. We're gonna mark it as a new number. We're gonna mark it as applicant's exhibit number 5. I'll just put a 5 on it for purposes.
That sounds
of
good.
moving right now. And you can put a sticker on it. Okay.
Now, I'm gonna add a question that I was asking before.
What, can we just ask them to give us the general layout of where they are and ask them to mark the different building numbers on this one as well? I think I understand where we are. Just ask them to kind of put those numbers on here as well. So, just want you to come on back up.
Yes, Mark, building 3 and building 4.
So just for those who are watching,
This is a test.
where he's marking, what he's marking right now is right, I mean, this number, right in there, that's building number 3. And he's marking this as building number 4.
So now, when we decided to go to new plans, what I was saying is, I'll give it to my fingers, they really go. All of this is where you have stuff
Yes.
that
Well,
goes in.
Yeah, yeah.
And the chocolate confectionery stuff is coming in up here. It's going up here, it's manufacturing. I thought it was leaving through the north, but it's actually leaving this side, is that correct? These are your loading docks
Yeah,
here,
Spring
on this
Street.
side,
Yes,
on Spring
Spring
Street. Spring Street.
Okay, let's mark just on the hard copy, loading docks. Yep.
And this is where you're saying that you're gonna reduce your traffic by 50%.
Here and right now, so I have a tough time with this one underground. The receiving docks, here about, right? They got it.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
spot.
Right now, there's 4 docks here that we receive stuff. Right in there.
Okay, so let's mark that on there as current receiving docks.
They are labeled, Dan.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Now, Mr. Schlott, those current receiving docks are going to be eliminated with this proposed plan?
This will stay there,
The current receiving docks will remain?
and this will stay there.
And the-
Nothing will change.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier, though, that there was other docks that were on the south side of building number 3.
These were the ones I was referring to.
I see. They weren't the ones down where the new building is
No.
going? All right. So you're talking about the ones that are currently existing, and they're facing which direction, those current receiving docks?
They're floors.
Okay, so they're heading down kind of to, understood. Okay.
And you're receiving what there?
Usually ingredients,
Oh, okay. All right.
usually just ingredients.
All right.
How about the materials? Where do you receive those?
We do receive some in here, the building 4 area, because we're storing back here.
So where are the receiving docks there?
The receiving, there's like 1 dock. Do we use both docks?
Which?
Back here, I'm sorry, back here, excuse me. There's one in the front, we're not
Okay,
using that.
Correct.
I'm just
He
asking.
can't, I understand, but he can't testify.
I know, but I just wanna make sure I'm
So,
not lying to
So,
you.
that's right. So where are the receiving docks? So there are receiving docks on building 4 then too?
Yes, there's a receiving dock in the back of the property.
Okay, mark that on there for me, please.
and there's like a small one inside the building dock, right here, that's like a canopy, a dock. Am I right, Bob?
You pointed to the, what's it, you got it.
You're pointing to your training center.
Yeah, I meant this one.
So the mark the train center, is this area, building 4 is a train center?
I think I know where the bunnies are coming out. Multiply.
All right, so I think we're still doing some process. No, wait. You're done. So we're actually asking questions right now. Oh, we started with Mr. Hoffman. We kind of let him off the hook. We'll put him back on the hook. So, all right, do you have any other questions for? Okay, I have a bunch of questions for you, Steve, of course.
Oh, man.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So, thank you. So Steve, you provided testimony that there's going to be new parking added, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm showing an area which is kind of between or right behind the proposed building, correct?
Yes, adjacent to the north,
Right, so
it'd be
it's
the
north.
northeast side.
Right, and is that that's new parking?
Correct.
And that's, I think you said 12 spaces?
That's 18 spaces.
18 spaces.
And then there's,
Hold on.
yep, sorry,
What's there currently?
grass.
So currently we have grass that runs, well, let me ask this question first. What is where I'm showing the highlighter now, where it says overall property plan on Exhibit 5, what is that?
There's an existing building there.
And whose building is that?
What's it?
Georgia.
All right, and there's no separation between that building? Or very small separation?
Very little between that building and building 3 currently. There's only a couple feet.
All right, so just beyond that, from the property line, that's beyond the Giorgio building, in the area where you're putting the proposed building is currently all grass.
Correct.
And how far up does the grass go? Up to the existing parking lot where I'm highlighting it right now with the green highlighter?
It's grass between that point and the building. Yes, that's all grass from there up to that parking lot there.
Okay. And so what you're doing is you're eliminating, again, this gets to your impervious coverage and I guess, what was the other one? But at least the impervious coverage.
Open space, yeah.
Open space, thank you. But that's where you're adding your coverage, correct?
Correct.
So you're gonna still have a certain amount of grass because you're leaving that 50-foot setback from the property line up to the new proposed building?
Correct.
That'll still be grass.
Yes.
All right. And then you are eliminating the grass to the north because what you're doing is you're putting the parking in right along the new proposed building.
Correct.
And you're gonna add then 4 additional spaces, I think you said, is that correct?
Correct.
And those are the spaces that are identified adjoining the hatched area, correct?
Well, the hatched area is actually underground.
I understand.
Yes,
I'm gonna
yes,
get there.
yes.
Just answer my question, and then you can add to it, and Mr. Stock can redirect you. So the additional 4 spaces that you're adding are at that location, and then the hatched area is the additional stormwater facilities that you're proposing to control the stormwater that's being created by the additional impervious coverage.
Correct.
And that additional impervious coverage in that hatched area is sufficient to control all of the new stormwater that's being generated by the impervious coverage.
By the new impervious coverage, correct. And just to be clear, that area will be grass. The hatched area will be grass as it's underground detention.
So the area between the parking areas, the hatched area, and then along up to, actually, it's another parking area will all remain grass.
Correct.
I may have other questions, but just, if anybody else has anything else.
Go ahead.
Robert, do you have any questions while I'm looking at my notes? talked about landscaping and a landscaping plan, and I understand it has to be prepared right now. Do you know where the landscaping is going to be proposed?
Not exactly, but it would likely be along the, in between the hatched area, which is the underground detention, and the existing parking area along, is that Van Reed Road on that side?
Is Van Reed Road right here?
Sure, and if we needed to, we could enhance existing landscaping along Van Reed Road if, you know, if the borough would prefer that.
That's one of my questions. I think we have some residents here that are along Van Reed Road. Is there any current landscaping out along Van Reed Road?
There's some, but I think it's relatively minimal, and in talking to the client, Palmer, I think they're more than willing to provide enhanced landscaping along Van Reed Road in and above what's required by the subdivision ordinance.
And you're proposing to go forward then with the filing of a land development plan?
Provided we receive the
If
relief that,
if
yes,
relief is granted,
correct, yes.
The plan would be to proceed then with land development?
Correct,
So you would be going to the planning commission with plans
absolutely,
through that process?
yes,
And you comply with all the subdivision land development ordinance?
absolutely.
There was some testimony you said about a ramp, which I was confused by for a forklift.
So, between building, it would be along the northwest side of building 4, yes, that's the area, correct. That's a ramp that would be used for a forklift to access the overhead door on the northwest side of building 4.
Okay, so I see. So this is, what's that shade?
That's a retaining wall.
So it's retaining wall. They would access, the forklift would access it by coming through the new parking area, and then it would come into the.
No, it would, the forklifts would be using the existing parking area there where the.
So they come in through the existing parking area, use that, and that's just for forklifts to go in to access the new proposed building.
In speaking with Palmer, that's just something whether or not the forklifts would be going into both buildings, I assume they would, that was my understanding.
Okay, so you had provided testimony that you're now going to be able to provide 251 parking spaces, is that correct?
It'll be 251 total after the 22 are added, that's correct. Yeah, correct.
And what's required for this facility under the zoning ordinance?
Per my calculation, 230 spaces are required.
And that's based upon square footage?
It's based upon what the zoning ordinance requires, which is 1 space per employee on the shift of greatest employment, or 1 space per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, whichever results in more parking spaces. That calculation is on the zoning.
Are you looking at that and breaking it down between the various types of uses that are there, the office and storage and warehouse and manufacturing?
Well, so it says 1 space per employee on the shift of greatest employment, or 1 space per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, whichever results in more parking spaces. Based on my conversations with the client, the employees on greatest shift prevailed over the other one, so that's what the calculations were based on.
But is that based upon light manufacturing?
It just says, Dan, it just says 1,000 square feet of gross floor area.
But is that under light manufacturing?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
did you also take into consideration there are certain areas that are office space, if you look at those requirements for parking?
I did not, Dan, and typically the way I've interpreted parking regulations in the past is when you have a principal use of, let's say, manufacturing, there are going to be accessory areas within that, principal building that are kind of assumed to support the principal use. So no, I didn't break it down area by area. I just looked at it all as a principal use with the assumption that you are going to have accessory storage areas, admin areas, laboratories, and whatnot.
But don't those other areas, for instance, the office area, have more parking demand typically than you would for a light manufacturing?
Yes, but again, it says gross floor area, Dan, so I assumed that meant.
Under the area for light manufacturing?
Yes.
But how about where it talks about office? There's a piece that's office as well.
Yeah, I just based it on 1,000 square feet of the entire, the overall total of the building area. Office people. According to the client, there's only 2 or 3 office people at this facility to the extent it matters.
So you can provide that testimony, Mr. Schlott. So how many office people?
So there's, I was counting, maybe 2, could be 3, the rest are all tied into the manufacturing process, whether it's HR, quality assurance,
So-
or engineering.
So how big is your training room?
It's fairly large. What do you want to guess, 30 by 30? Is that?
Do you know what exactly?
Well, it's not short, because it's like a part of this. Somewhere around 20 by 30.
And so how many people does that accommodate to?
25 to 30.
And where do you park those vehicles?
They're existing employees. So we do it during the shift. So any training we would do would be existing employees during the
So
shift.
there's nobody coming for training from other facilities or locations?
It could be one that would park in the village. If somebody came from our corporate center or something.
So how long, this is more for you, Mr. Schlott. How long did you say you guys have been here, since 1967?
Yeah, so the building was built as a distribution center in 1967. The first production line was put in approximately around 1972, 1973. And then it was added to over the years.
And since that time, you've been able to use it in the current configuration.
Yes, chocolate manufacturing.
And as I understand your testimony, the reason you're looking for this expansion is because you had the incident that occurred at Western.
That's correct. That's correct.
And so you would like to consolidate the facilities here to make it more convenient.
Well, to make sure our employees can work efficiently, and so that we don't have to move production lines or processes to other buildings.
But they've been doing that for years before.
Yes. But again, with what happened in some of the auxiliary equipment that we brought over, again, all light manufacturing, packaging machines, we just run out of storage.
But ultimately, you could find storage other places.
We could, whether we would or not, or look at other alternatives. We haven't gotten that far, but because it needs to run together to be efficient. So if we start piecemealing things, we become less efficient, we become less competitive, which would be a hardship on our business.
But you've been operating that way since 1967, essentially.
The way we are now, yes.
I have nothing further.
I think we should pursue that point, because I'm sure Mr. Stock has told you or explained to you hardship as it posed, as it appears to the zoning hearing board. What is your interpretation of that, and how does that affect you?
So the hardship that I think we're applying for at this point is because we were under the understanding, and we had years of understanding that our building was approved for light manufacturing. I believe it's only been the last.
Can you speak up, please?
Sorry, it's only been the last number of years that apparently that zoning has changed. We had no notification of it, so we could not plan for that. And then that's the true hardship for us in our business currently.
But we're not talking about adding light manufacturing or you're not asking for that, you're asking for warehouse
For
storage.
just storage which we currently have in the building today, just to add to it, so that we can store more supplies. That's been a current use of ours, since 1967.
It's a tough sell for hardship based on zoning definition of hardship.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics, I'm just telling you how our business operates. Yeah, the experts are at the table, but I know what it would do to our business, and I know, you know, it's not gonna be easy on our business. Our team has been used a lot, through no fault of their own. You know, we're just trying to keep this thing going for many generations to come, and that's my goal here today.
Yes, we should see if, Ms. Carlson, do you have any questions?
I do.
Now remember, not statements at this point, these are questions.
Correct, yes, question. So I heard you say that by having this building expanded, right?
Yes.
It is going to make things easier for your company with the 50% of your Palmer trucks,
That's
moving
correct.
things around. So then what is going to be with that additional storage? What is the impact to the increased number of large trucks that come and park in front of my house?
May I see them, please?
Yes.
Wait, okay, so, all right.
I don't
No, that's okay. So we
But-
need to
but
mark
it is a
these, we're gonna,
question.
wait, hold on a second. If you're gonna start showing pictures, we need to get them marked,
That's fine.
which is okay. So, why don't we mark the pictures first? We'll mark them as Carlson, 1 through whatever they are.
And they come all hours, they come in the middle.
Okay, stop.
I'm sorry. Oh, no, that, oh, okay, sorry, that was just in this. Six,
There's 6 of them, probably.
yes.
Okay,
Can I
please,
see them
yeah,
before?
that's the next step.
Want me to start up here?
I want you to show them Mr. Stock first,
You got it.
and then Mr. Smith.
Okay. That one's parked on the wrong side of the road. This-
Okay, hold on.
So they tell me not to talk to her.
It's just frustrating that I live like that.
Yeah, just hold on. Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Yeah,
Okay, no, wait, actually, no, bring it up to my
Oh.
board, I want to see it first.
I'm not gonna do that.
Are there any objections from Mr. Stock to the photographs, Carlson 1 through 6?
No.
No objections. Mr. Smith?
No objections.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so then remember, you're asking questions.
Okay.
So, wait, just one at a time.
Oh, sorry.
So show them the pictures you want to ask them a question about, and identify the picture you want to look at the back.
I'll look at the back. Okay.
And so the picture you want to ask a question about, just look at the back, and there's numbers on it,
Yes.
okay? So it would be Carlson,
All right, so we'll start with this one. This one is Carlson, number 6.
Okay,
As you can see,
what's the question?
oh, my question is, so, I gotta phrase this, cars park in front of my walkway,
Okay,
waiting,
so make that a question. Do you see cars parked in front of her walkway on that
They do,
issue?
they do.
Thank you.
One car, yes.
Okay,
okay.
next question.
Next question would be, see, I'm not sure how to phrase this as a question.
You get to make statements later, and you'll be able
Okay,
to
so
show us the photographs and
Okay,
make
then
your
I can
statements.
do it as a statement later,
Okay,
but, why,
okay, what number is that?
oops, I'm sorry, this is Carlson 4.
Okay,
Why is this truck parked on the side of the road, Van Reed, where there is no parking allowed?
okay, stop, that's a question, let me answer that one.
Yeah, I cannot answer that. Again, I apologize if that is happening. These truck drivers are independent truck drivers that a lot of times are not from the area. We have procedures in place. They all, with our contracts, they all get notified on proper procedures. But again, you bring it to my attention, I can assure you that we will work with our staff to make sure that that is eliminated. We will put signs out front, and I will staff people out front. That's a problem.
There's no parking.
This is the first that I've seen or heard of this, and we don't want you to go through anything like that. We can fix this, and, thank you for bringing it to my attention, but I will give you my information before the end of the meeting, and we will take care of it.
Okay. This one, I guess the rest of these
Okay.
can be comments, but this one is on Carlson 5.
Okay?
Why are trucks allowed to just like be backed up, waiting to be offloaded, and they sit there and they idle?
Yeah, so again, we have signs, that's a good question, they shouldn't be doing that. We have signs hanging at the facility, trucks are not allowed to idle. Sometimes, it's not an exact science where the trucks don't show up at the proper time, might be off by a half hour or an hour. So they're pulling onto our lot there to try to wait to be loaded or unloaded. Again, this is the first I'm hearing of this, and we can address this. We have a number, Bob, that you worked with our plant manager, and I'm gonna give you my card and my number, and whenever you have any issues, you have a direct line to me, and I promise you we'll take care of it. We wanna be good neighbors, we wanna be good stewards of the community. Again, they're instructed exactly what to do, but unfortunately, these folks are independents, they come from all over the country. Sometimes they don't all listen, sort of like my children. And sometimes we have to address it. So if you let me know, I assure you that we will address it, I promise you. I'm sorry that you had to.
So then my last question would be, would you want to live across the street from this, or
I
have
would
this
not.
in your house?
I would.
So if it's a neighborhood.
Right.
So, I have nothing further.
Thank you. I think, Mr. Smith, you also have statement.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. I have no questions. Thank you.
Dan, do we need those pictures?
We do need those pictures. Those pictures have to go
And
in
we
the record.
admitted, we admit those.
Yes, we did. There was no objections. Those
I didn't
pictures
think
will
you
be.
did.
Mr. Jay, if you have a question?
Yes, I have a couple, if that's okay. I'm not trying to lengthen this thing, but I try to make sense of what was said here. First question is, yes, I'm sorry, Adrian Jadick.
Okay.
So he's asking a question. Yeah, please ask a question.
I will ask questions.
Jaedik.
Jadic.
Oh, thank you.
Good?
Yeah.
That's it. So first question is, where was the administration located before it moved, where you said on,
On Reed Avenue,
no, I think
before Reed Avenue.
before you moved it
Yeah,
to
so-
broadcasting, whatever it is right now.
About 10% of it was in Wyomissing,
Mhm.
and 90% of it was in West Reading. So now 100% of it is down on Reed.
So where were they located, in building 4?
Inside building 3.
Inside building 3?
Yeah, we have different small little pod houses that,
Okay, so that was never an admin building for?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Next,
object. He didn't identify himself as having standing earlier. There's been
it's just a question.
no showing that he has any direct interest in the outcome of this matter, so I object to proceeding any further with Mr. Jadig.
Mr. J, you didn't ask for standing. I don't.
We've always been allowed to ask questions.
But understand.
I did not know that that doesn't
There hasn't
happen.
been counsel, two different attorneys here, very formal today in the way we're operating. So if you want to try to ask for standing, we'll allow you to do that right now.
Sure.
Care to do that? So, Mr. Stock, if you'd like to, before I do it, but before we do that, we'll get your name on the record and your name and your address. Mr. Jadig, for the record,
48 Cardinal Road, Wyomissing,
and your full name.
Adrian Jadig.
Mr. Jadig, how far is 48 Cardinal Road from this particular site?
It's far away, but I have been in contact with many residents, and I think this is a Wyomissing issue. It's not just, just like the West Reading accident was our own issue. It's not just yours. It's not just the people who died. It's not just the people who were this, were affected by that explosion. It's, we look bad. Doesn't matter who.
How, you say it's far away, give me your best estimate of the distance.
You know where the pool is?
I know where a lot of pools are. Which pool are you talking about?
Wyomissing pool.
I do.
Good. It's close by.
So you live near the Wyomissing pool?
Close by, yes.
It's too far away. I object to any continuance of
I
questions.
think it's,
or-
the questions are good
You
for the
don't
record.
believe he has a direct address.
It's too far away.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I didn't get what you said.
So I believe what Mr. Stock is explaining is he doesn't believe that under the MPC, he doesn't have the direct and immediate impact on his property or his use. Is that my
That is
understanding?
correct, yes.
Board members, I believe that sounds, compared to Mr. J. Liz, I believe that's accurate.
It's accurate and according to the NBC, would not have standing.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So we're going to sustain the objection to standing. So at this point, we won't have the opportunity to ask those questions. We'll allow you to make an unsworn statement, but we're not going to allow you to ask any further questions because you don't have standing.
Okay, fair enough.
Mr. Smith, do you have anything further to add on that particular topic?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Is there anybody else that has, I think we talked to Mr. Smith, you don't have any questions? Ms. Carlson, you don't have any further questions? Is anybody else with standing? I don't think so. All right. We're getting close to the witching hour here. I believe Borough Hall will close at 5 o'clock. Is that correct?
Actually, we have council tonight, but we have executive session before that, so we need to set up in this room no later than 5:30.
Okay, so we're very quickly approaching the end here. I think we have about 20 minutes to try to conclude tonight. I think we have some housekeeping that we have to go through, and I know I want to talk to you, but you have anything further. And then Mrs. Carlson, do you have a number of exhibits that you want to provide, or are you just going to provide your sworn statement?
Just, those were my exhibits, so I will just do a statement.
Okay, Mr. Smith, are you going to be providing any testimony or exhibits?
No, no, it's not.
Thank you. Mr. Stock, how much further do you have to go to?
I have about 4 questions.
Okay, so why don't we let you finish up with those questions and you redirect, and then we can have some additional follow-up. We'll get to our housekeeping, I think we can get done by 5 o'clock.
Mr. Schlott, Mr. Rothwell asked you about hardship, and you talked about the zoning change. Earlier in the testimony, you also talked about the situation from West Reading.
That's correct.
Again, what kind of hardship does that create, or did that create for the company?
Well, at the time, I mean.
As it relates to this site?
Yeah, as it relates to this site, we lost 40% of our storage and operating capacity. We put people first, and the people were first. We wanted to make sure we could pay everyone and make sure everybody could sustain, their employment and maintain their jobs. We have a lot of long-standing employees working for our company. And that's very important to me. It's very important to my senior management team. It's important to everyone. So this site is needed because of the storage issues it's creating for our operations. Without it, we're have some issues.
May I just keep continuing?
Please.
Mrs. Carlson,
Yes.
you had a chance to ask Mr. Schlott some questions and show him the photographs. If those issues are rectified as Mr. Schlott promised he would take care of, he gave you his direct line, would you be satisfied?
No.
Why not?
With the added building, there's the additional height under that 45 feet. There's going to be additional lights in the parking lot. My house is right there. I have headlights coming in. I can't open my blinds at night. So I do not want that building to be expanded. I live there. You don't.
You weren't at the prior hearing. Is there a reason for that?
I only moved into the property last July. The end of July, I'll be here a year. I was unaware of the last hearing, otherwise I would have been here. I have had issues where I have called the company previously.
So you moved into the neighborhood in July of 2023.
That is correct.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, do you have any objections to the proposed expansion?
No, I have no objections. We've been owners of 1050 Spring Street, which is a neighbor immediately adjacent to the west, for about 3 years, and R.M. Palmer's been a good corporate neighbor next to us. The expansion as proposed doesn't seem to have any other sort of impact, certainly not on our property, much less the neighborhood, and we wish R.M. Palmer the best.
Thank you. That's all I have.
So, Mr. Smith, are you then in support of the application?
We are in support of the application.
Thank you very much. Board members, do you have any further questions in light of? All right, let's make sure that we can move all exhibits into evidence so far that it's permitted.
I move applicants 1 through 5.
Any objections, Mr. Smith?
No objection.
Any objections, Ms. Carlson?
No.
Will be admitted, and we'll do the same for the photographs that were marked by Ms. Carlson, 1 through 6. Carlson, 1 through 6. Any objections?
No objections.
Mr. Smith?
No objections.
Okay, well, we moved into evidence as well. And you say you've rested, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Carlson, you said you don't have any any exhibits or testimony other than you're going to make a sworn statement at the end. Is that correct?
Yes, but I don't believe Mr. Slot did answer my question with the increased number of large trucks
Okay.
coming down Van Reed Road with the expansion of the building.
So the question is, I'm sure I'm understanding this question, is will there be an increase in the large number, the large trucks coming down
Correct.
Van Reed Road?
Yes.
So, I apologize for not answering that. My answer to that is there's gonna be less. And the reason there's gonna be less is because right now we're sending half trucks and quarter trucks, those Palmer trucks that you see.
Okay, that's not the trucks.
Okay,
Oh,
hold on.
sorry,
Let me
I'll let you
finish.
Okay,
finish.
so that truck traffic that goes along the back, those trucks will be diminished considerably. Because again, we can carry full trucks. As far as the ingredient trucks I think you're referring to?
Yes.
That hasn't changed, and it should change. We're actually, I can share with you, in that facility, we're making about 200,000 to 300,000 pounds less a week than what we did 2 or 3 years ago, just by some of the shrinkflation that's taken place. You know, a bunny used to be 8 ounces, now it's 6 ounces, you know, to hit that same price point.
I'm glad we got that.
I know. But honestly, we're, you know, much more is we're using less ingredients today than what we did 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I can prove it. I'm not, you know,
No,
I'm not making that up.
that's fine.
But,
Thank you for
yeah.
answering my question.
You're good. Questions then, Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
All right. And so from that point, you have no further evidence or testimony other than you want to make a sworn statement, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And then that, please understand, will be subject to cross-examination of Mr. Stock after that sworn
That's
statement.
fine.
Okay. Mr. Smith, you have nothing further based upon?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So at this point in time, I think we're ready for some housekeeping because Mr. Stock has rested his case. I believe we're ready to do our housekeeping. So we'll start with Michelle. Michelle, you've been sworn in your capacity as the secretary for the zoning hearing board of Wyomissing. What are your duties and responsibilities?
I prepared a public notice that was advertised in the Reading Eagle on June 25th and July 2nd of 2024. That same notice was posted on the subject property on June 18th, 2024 at approximately 9:30 a.m. and was mailed to all adjacent property owners located within at least 300 feet of the subject property on June 14th of 2024 at approximately 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those documents with you today?
I do.
We'll mark those as board exhibit number 1. In your capacity as the secretary for the zoning hearing board, do you have any further information that you deem relevant for the zoning hearing board to consider today?
I do not.
I know, Michelle, that you have some background as a zoning officer for several years here as well. You heard the testimony today. Is there anything that you want to point out or clarify the purpose of this hearing today?
The property was rezoned, actually the whole area was rezoned in 2021. As the person that actually mailed and did an affidavit as part of that rezoning in 2021, letters were sent to all adjacent property owners notifying them of the change, that their non-conforming use was protected and grandfathered by right, but that there would be certain accommodations or variances, special exceptions required in the future if there were expansions of those non-conforming uses.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. In light of that testimony, Mr. Stocker, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Carlson, do you have any questions for Ms. Baird?
No questions.
Thanks.
Was the notice issued to property owners issued before or after the zoning ordinance was enacted in 2021?
Before, because they were legally required to be notified of the public hearing for adoption and advertisement.
Ms. Carlson, do you have anything for her?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Michelle. Ms. Deutschman, in your capacity as the commercial zoning officer for the borough of Wyomissing, what are your duties and responsibilities?
For this hearing, I have prepared the zoning hearing board memo, and it is dated June 21st of 2023.
And you have a copy of that memorandum with you today?
I do.
We'll mark that as board exhibit number 2. At the time of the application, what zoning ordinance was upheld?
The zoning ordinance published January of 2022 was enacted at the time.
We'll mark that as board exhibit number 3. We're gonna take judicial notice of it, not move that into evidence. It's not part of it.
No objection.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Deutschman, do you have anything further for us today?
I do not.
All right. At this time, and now it's the opportunity for some statements. So we'll start with those who, with potential sworn statements, who are the parties withstanding. So Ms. Carlson, we'll start with you.
Okay.
If you care to, you can use your exhibits. I'd ask you to kind of move to the center of the table here. Move the chair out of the way if you'd like to stand. Why don't you come over here so it makes it easier for us all here. Remember, you're under oath.
Yes. Alright, so when I first moved into my house last July, I did have, and I didn't know I should have taken pictures, but I should have. There were employees that were sitting on these steps at the bottom of my walkway. And I found out that they're not allowed to leave the Palmer property. They sit on the steps, they were using their cell phones, they were eating. I would find beard nets, hair nets in my yard. That shouldn't be my responsibility to clean up. And it's disrespectful to go sit on somebody's steps. Other times, I had a lot of cars before the administration building moved. There were cars just parked in front of my house, my walkway, the road, blocking my walkway. I do have a heart condition. I have a ICD implant and a pacemaker. My heart's only working 28%. So if I needed medical attention, there was no place for an ambulance that would even be able to park. That since has cleared up with the new admin building. At night, and this picture here is at 11 o'clock at night during shift change. It parks in front of my walkway every single night, waiting for an employee to come out, blaring music that I can hear in my house. That's disrespectful. I know this is not an employee, but they're picking up an employee. During the holiday time, I had And this was 3 o'clock in the morning. One of the temporary employees went out to their car and was blaring music, woke up my dog, dog started barking. I couldn't sleep for an hour, I work. And then again, between 4:30, that same person went out to their car for another 15-20 minutes, blaring music. I did call Palmer. A manager called me back in the afternoon, and I was told that, they would put security out in the parking lot during breaks or shift changes just to prevent that from happening, but they also told me that their caliber of temporary employees were not up to standards. So that's a safety issue right there. If they're not happy with their temporary employees, and I live right directly across the street. I have headlights coming in my house all the time. I have noise. I have trucks parked in front of my house, idling. It's really a nuisance. And if I would have known this, I wouldn't have bought my house. I would have bought somewhere else, because this shouldn't be right in front of where I live.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mrs. Stock, do you have any questions?
Maybe one or two. Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
you heard Mr. Hoffman testify earlier about landscaping.
Yes.
Would additional landscaping along Van Reed Road have a beneficial impact on the issue of the headlights that shine in your house?
If it would block the headlights, yes, it would be beneficial.
And you mentioned about talking to, I think you said the plant manager?
One of the managers called me in the afternoon, yes.
And said about security, did they respond to that and
I didn't hear the music after that, it was just that one night.
Okay, so after one night, the music issue was resolved, and
Correct.
would you agree that Palmer seemed to respond to your phone call about
Yes.
that issue in a positive manner?
Yes.
And you heard Mr. Schlott testify about the trucks parking. Do you doubt that he's gonna respond to you in a similar positive manner?
No, I believe Mr. Schott will look into it, if he doesn't know, and I brought it to his attention, I'm sure he's going to look into it. I don't know him personally, so I just trust.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. All right, you may be seated.
I'll just bring these back down.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, would you like to make any sworn statement as a part of?
No, thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you very much. All right. At this point in time, is there anybody that would like to make an unsworn statement? Okay, so this is not going to be subject to any examination. This is just to allow the neighbors and residents to make a statement.
My name's Christine Goodman.
Ms. Goodman, can you please stand up?
Sure.
So we can just see a little
Christine
bit?
Goodman, Christine with a K, Kristine. Good man, spelled that. I just want to say that Palmer Properties on the Van Reed Road in Berkshire Heights, they've already, in my opinion, saturated the acreage there. And after the rejected application,
Okay, can you move up here too? It is hard for me to hear you as well.
sure.
No, just come on up here to the middle of the table
Oh,
where
sure.
Ms. Carlson just was located. Sorry, it's just hard to hear.
So after, I'll say
Yeah,
the,
just start from the beginning.
yes, Palmer Properties on Van Reed Road in Berkshire Heights, in my opinion, have saturated the acreage there already. After the rejected application from November of last year, several residents on Van Reed Road received a huge Easter basket in March 2024, filled to the brim with Palmer products. I live on Douglas Street, and I am one house away from Douglas and Van Reed. I'm just one house in. And I received one, but my neighbors on both sides did not. I believe Linda also said she received one. So, it was just seen that the timing of this olive branch apparently seemed suspect. But we never had received anything from Palmer, any communications and phone calls or anything like that before. And now here we are. Bang. No current request requests probably was in the works at that time. I just can't believe that the residents are here again asking for their neighborhood to remain just that, a safe, clean, and beautiful neighborhood. We were expecting by choosing Wyomissing boroughs to live. The encroachment of a national company onto the surrounding R1 zoning community, I believe, is unfair, and the exceptions they habitually ask for now in an I1 zone. The activity at the plant in Berkshire Heights ramped up within weeks after the West Reading incident in March 2023, and they still continue today, in our opinion. I'm not at all in agreement that Berkshire Heights community should be asked to make concessions for R.M. Palmer that is already an overgrown zone where it is located. And there are many other solutions, I'm sure, and approving these exceptions would beget more variance applications until I feel they single-handedly change the zone to 100% variance exceptions. I respectfully request that the zoning board members use their common sense when making today's decision. Better yet, just imagine your home and family living in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman. All right, Mr. Jadick, I see you have some comments you'd like to make.
Yes, I'm gonna actually read this time. Do you want me to come there?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, first of all, I really object of the objection. I think it just shows how R.M. Palmer operates. I'm an engineer. I wanted to ask some engineering questions because none of that stuff that they said, I mean, a lot of it raises questions. I don't understand how that production flows. None of you are engineers. None of you ask the right questions.
I object to that, Mr. Jadick. I'm an engineer.
I apologize.
Okay, Mr.
All right.
Jadick, you have
And
3 minutes to make your statement.
Okay, well, I'm
So
gonna
make your
start
statement,
reading. It's
please.
first time you say about 3 minutes.
That's right, that's where you are.
So, zoning and land use. The proposed warehouse is inconsistent with occurring I-1 office research parking zoning district. This area is primarily intended for professional services, such as doctors, engineers, and other professional providers. Additionally, the site is located directly across the street from residential homes. Introducing a large warehouse to this setting is incompatible with the extended use of the zoning district. Safety and trust concerns. The tragic explosion of R.M. Palmer factory in West Reading, which resulted in 7 fatalities, underscores serious safety concerns. The company failed to evacuate despite reported gas leaks, demonstrating a significant lapse in safety protocols. Furthermore, the company's initial application for production facility was denied, and now they're attempting to introduce a warehouse which could later be converted into a production facility without proper oversight. This bait-and-switch approach erodes trust and raises concern about the future compliance with zoning. Environmental community impact. Residents are already experiencing issues with light and noise pollutions like we've seen from the existing planned operations. The addition of a warehouse will likely exacerbate. Moreover, the area is already burdened with excessive trailer traffic and parking overflow, forcing workers to park on residential streets and disrupting the community. The increased industrial activity will further degrade the quality of life of nearby residents. Economic and social disparity. This area is a medium or lower income, whatever you want to call it, residential neighborhood where residents cannot afford, and we have been witnesses here, to hire lawyers to hold R.M. Palmer accountable. The company appears to be exploiting this economic disparity, pushing through projects that would not be attempted in a higher income residential area. This unfair targeting further underscores the need for zoning hearing board to protect the interests of all community members regardless of their economic status. Granting these variances would set a dangerous precedent for non-conforming uses and dimensional non-compliance. It opens the door for future developments that may further erode the integrity of our zoning laws. Additionally, there is a risk that the company could gradually convert the warehouse into a production facility or convert other areas into a production facility and keep this. I don't understand how this is not increase of production, and this is not a hardship. They have not explained to me why they cannot travel between the two buildings and just make, a walkway, a covered area that would maintain the green area. We did not find that question because we didn't ask. Call for accountability. It's crucial that the new development, R.M. Palmer, includes strict oversight and regular inspections to ensure compliance with zoning. We don't know. I've worked in plants, I'm a plant engineer. If I wanted to bend rules, I could. If nobody inspects, who's inspecting? No, none of us here is going to inspect if they're holding to their promise. And finally, like I said, lack of demonstrated hardship. The applicant has not demonstrated the true hardship that justifies the need for these variances. Their primary argument centers around increasing profits rather than addressing a specific unavoidable issue with the property. Financial gain does not meet the legal standard for demonstrating hardship on the zoning laws. And it's obvious that right now, they're trying to muscle it through. They brought not the lawyer who doesn't want to hear anything that is of concern. I have valid concerns. I have no interest whatsoever if they move or don't, if they install a warehouse or not. I just have valid concerns for Wyomissing. I don't know since when this is not allowed. Also, I think discussing about alternative solutions, they did not tell us can they do this in other places. They are more suitable. Exeter, they have such large surface, they can do that over there. That block doesn't work. So I urge the zoning board to consider alternative solutions that better align with the current zoning regulations. R.M. Palmer should explore alternative locations better suited, not across from these people who are here today. I respectfully request the zoning board to deny the variance application submitted by R.M. Palmer. And I guess that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jay. May we have your statement?
Sure. I wrote on the back, but
All right. Just handed to the stenographer, she'll mark that as Jaded Exhibit number 1. Okay, there's another young lady to the back. Do you have any statements that you would like to make? Thank you. Mr. Smith, anything further?
2 minutes?
Go ahead.
We moved, like you, we moved into the neighborhood about 3 years ago. We refinished a property that I said is just to the west of this property. We have a professional office. It's not a residence, so I'm not there often at 2 or 3 in the morning. But what I have learned over the last 3 years is that when there have been issues with R.M. Palmer, hairnet, we had a few hairnets in our yard too on windy days. We've called, I think it was Tom, you responded to that well, and they take care of complaints like that. I appreciate when a company is trying to be more efficient, and that sounds like the purpose of this development here. Efficient and responsible in the way that they're expanding their businesses. I would fear, frankly, if R.M. Palmer, a neighbor that I know that's responsive to my complaints, would find working out of this facility too inefficient to stay. And then they would move, and then we would get a new neighbor that we don't know, that may not be as inclined to respond or be responsive to complaints in the neighborhood. And so I think that reasonable expansion of, as described here in the application, is helpful to maintaining R.M. Palmer's business in Wyomissing, and I think that's good for the whole community, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I see there's one more gentleman to Mr. Smith's left. I believe you're with newspaper, is that correct?
Tell me if it's you.
Oh, okay, thank you very much for coming today. All right, so I believe that concludes all of the testimony for this evening. Is there anything that I've missed, Mr. Stock?
We have no objection to the board or to your board exhibits. I don't know if you
Oh,
have.
I did not, thank you. We'll move those into evidence as well as Mr. Jadig's statement. Is there anything further from anybody out, Ryan, before we go to opportunity for a closing statement? If you care to do so. Relatively brief, if so.
I'm very sensitive to the time, so I think
Thank
I think our position's clear.
you. Right. So
Okay. Now, typically, we would recess and attempt to come to some sort of a conclusion on today's hearing. We don't have time. I don't think we're ready to do that. So we are going to adjourn the meeting for now and.
Let's see if we can,
recess.
let's see if we can recess to a date certain.
We have 2 hearings on the 31st,
Yes,
one at 2, one at 3. So
yes. we do have-
1:45.
I was actually, if I may, I was actually gonna make a comment. Mr. Altman has not seen any of the exhibits to my knowledge, so.
Yes, we'll make sure that he gets this.
I don't know if it's.
He's already been advertised.
We have
Yeah.
2 or 3.
The 2 and the 3 have been advertised, yes.
You go to the point that
It's supposed to be at 1:20, but I'm never
I see.
out there.
I see. So,
She doesn't trust doctors.
yeah. Right, your husband. All right, so,
Go ahead, Michelle.
What time are you asking?
well, I think what this will take, hopefully will not take longer, it'll be, just so everybody in the audience understands, what we're doing is we're trying to find another date where we're gonna recess the hearing, but it's simply for the purpose of rendering the decision, the oral decision. There will be no additional testimony taken at that time. The record will be closed when we leave here today, it'll just be to render the decision. So that should take us no more than a couple of minutes.
You just wanna do it at 2 when the first hearing starts?
We can do that. We can start there at 2 o'clock to render the decision. So the next hearing would start a couple minutes after.
And move the other.
Just a few minutes.
Yeah, so we'll just start the first hearing 3 or 4 minutes.
What is the first hearing, what's that one about?
Commonwealth Charter Academy sign is across the street.
So it's a sign request.
Your favorite.
Yeah. So
We might need 15 minutes before that, but we can do that.
Right, and we might be able to take some time here this afternoon too before it starts.
Okay.
As long as you don't mind Melissa nose poking around you, because she's gotta set up for.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so we stand in recess until 2 o'clock on July 31st.
Yeah.
Correct.
July 31st, right?
Yes, Bob, you were here in person, not in the box.
I am, yep.
And I thank you all for your participation and your comments, and that's it.
Michelle, must we email you to find out what happened?
I think that's.
Or you
This is an
can come,
exhibit.
yes.
Oh, I mean, you can even
Yeah.
come.
Yeah, you can